Most people think of how fast they walk as just a habit. Some people are naturally brisk. Others prefer a slower pace. It doesn't seem like a health issue. It's just a style. But here's what the science actually shows. Your walking speed is one of the most powerful predictors of how long you'll live, how sharp your mind will stay, and whether you'll end up in a hospital or a nursing home in the next decade. There's a reason doctors are starting to call it the sixth vital sign. Right alongside your blood pressure, your heart rate, and your oxygen levels, researchers now argue that your walking speed should be measured at every clinical visit for adults over 60. And the gap it reveals is staggering. Among 75-year-olds, the slowest walkers have just a 19% chance of surviving the next 10 years. The fastest walkers? Their survival rate is 87%. That's not a small difference. That's your future, measured in seconds per meter. Let's start with what the research actually shows. A lot of this knowledge comes from a massive study by Dr. Stephanie Studensky. She and her team looked at data from 9 large studies, nearly 35,000 older adults tracked over an average of 12 years. Their question was simple. Can we predict who will still be alive in a decade just from how fast they walk? The answer was yes, more reliably than many of the traditional biomarkers doctors spend far more time measuring. Walking speed predicted survival across every age group and both sexes, and it predicted it continuously, meaning there was no cliff where you fell off. Every 0.1 meters per second faster you walk, your odds improve. Every 0.1 meters per second slower, they decline. But it's not just about survival. Gait speed predicts hospitalization. It predicts falls. It predicts the loss of independence. It predicts cognitive decline. And here's what makes this especially worth paying attention to. Walking speed doesn't just reflect your current health. It reflects how your body is aging at the cellular level. To understand why, you need to know what's actually happening when you walk. Walking looks simple. You put one foot in front of the other. But what your brain and body are doing beneath the surface is extraordinarily complex. Every step requires your nervous system to coordinate dozens of muscle groups with split-second timing. It requires your heart and lungs to deliver oxygen efficiently. It requires your balance system to make hundreds of tiny corrections per second. And this is the part that surprises most people, it requires substantial cognitive effort. Walking is not automatic. It draws on executive function, attention, and processing speed. That's why slowing down with age isn't just about weak legs or stiff joints. It's often a sign that the whole system, muscles, heart, brain, nerves, is starting to decline together. That's what makes walking speed such a powerful predictor. It captures the sum of all those systems in a single, easy-to-measure number. The thresholds clinicians use are specific, and knowing them puts you in a position to understand your own risk. For community-dwelling older adults, meaning people living at home, not in care facilities, here's how the ranges break down. If you're walking faster than 1.1 meters per second, you're in the high-functioning range. Low risk for falls, low risk for hospitalization. You're aging well by this measure. Between 0.8 and 1.1 meters per second is considered normal. Median life expectancy, functional for everyday tasks like crossing a street or navigating a grocery store. Between 0.6 and 0.8 is what we call the yellow flag zone. It's not an emergency, but your body is trying to tell you that it's losing its buffer. This range is associated with frailty and poor clinical outcomes, and it's a signal worth acting on. Below 0.6 meters per second indicates significant functional impairment, high risk for disability, and nursing home placement. For context, 0.8 meters per second is roughly 1 step per second. An average city crosswalk assumes you'll walk at about 1.2 meters per second. If you're walking below 0.8, those city crosswalk timers start to feel like a race you can't win. That's a sign your functional world is shrinking. Now, gait speed is not just a snapshot. The direction it's moving matters enormously. A study tracking 2,364 older adults over time identified 3 distinct gait trajectories: slow decline, moderate decline, and fast decline. Those in the fast decline group, who were slowing down by approximately 0.03 meters per second per year, had a 90 to 110% greater risk of mortality compared to those whose gait remained stable. That means the rate of change is as important as where you are right now. If you've noticed yourself slowing down, if stairs feel harder, if you're struggling to keep up with people you used to walk alongside, That trend itself is a warning sign, independent of your current speed. The connection to brain health is perhaps the most surprising part of this story. Here's the key insight. Walking is a cognitive task. When researchers ask older adults to walk while simultaneously doing something mentally demanding, counting backwards by threes, naming animals, gait speed slows, and step variability increases. In younger people, the brain handles both tasks easily. But as we age, those two things, walking and thinking, start fighting for the same bandwidth. If the brain is struggling to keep the body upright and balanced, it has less power left for the conversation. This dual task effect reveals something that a standard memory test might miss. A person can perform fine on a cognitive assessment in a quiet room and still show the signs of early decline when their brain is asked to do two things at once, like walking and thinking. The numbers on dementia risk are striking. When gait speed drops below 1.0 meters per second and walking endurance is also low, the risk for dementia increases significantly. Gait variability, the fluctuation in your step length and timing, is in some cases an even more sensitive predictor of Alzheimer's disease than speed alone. And researchers have now linked gait speed to biological age at the cellular level. Epigenetic studies show that people whose biological age, measured by DNA methylation patterns, is older than their calendar age tend to have slower walking speeds. Your pace, in other words, is an external window into what's happening inside your cells. Here's the part that matters most. Walking speed is not fixed. Physical decline is not inevitable. It is often the result of disuse, and it can be reversed with the right kind of training. The key insight from exercise science is that traditional strength training, while valuable, is not the most effective approach for improving walking speed. What really moves the needle isn't just strength, it's power. Now, power might sound like something for athletes, but in this context, it just means how quickly you can move. It's the difference between slowly pushing yourself up from a chair and doing it with purpose and speed. As we age, we lose the fast-twitch muscle fibers responsible for that quick, explosive movement. Strength training builds muscle mass. Power training teaches that muscle to fire faster. A 12-week study of adults over 75 with limited mobility found that high-velocity resistance training, moving a moderate load as rapidly as possible, improved walking speed by 0.12 meters per second. To put that in context, that's enough to shift someone from the at-risk range into the normal range. You don't need heavy weights or a gym membership. The research supports exercises like chair stands performed as quickly as you safely can, step-ups with deliberate speed, resistance band exercises emphasizing the push phase, balance training combined with leg strengthening, programs like the Otago exercise program, which has been specifically validated to reduce falls and improve functional mobility in older adults. The evidence suggests that even modest, consistent effort, a few sessions per week, can meaningfully improve both gait speed and the underlying neurological adaptations that drive it. And here's something that often gets left out of the conversation. Your mindset matters too. Researcher Becca Levy at Yale has spent decades studying how our beliefs about aging affect the way we actually age. In one long-term study, nearly half of adults over 65 showed measurable improvement in cognitive or physical function over a 10-year period. The strongest predictor of that improvement wasn't their diagnosis or their fitness level at the start. It was their attitude toward aging itself. People who saw aging as a period of continued growth and resilience, rather than inevitable decline, were significantly more likely to improve their walking speed over time. This isn't self-help philosophy. It's measurable physiology. The way you think about getting older influences how you actually get older. That's worth sitting with. So how do you actually know where you stand? You can measure your own sixth vital sign at home. Here's how. Clear a path of about 20 meters, roughly 66 feet, in a hallway or open room. Mark the start and end, and also mark the 5-meter and 15-meter points in the middle. That 10-meter center zone is where you'll be timed. Walk the full 20 meters at your normal, comfortable pace. Have someone start a stopwatch when your foot crosses the 5-meter mark, and stop it when you hit the 15-meter mark. The extra room at each end lets you get up to speed before timing starts, so you're measuring your actual walking pace, not your acceleration. Then take the number 10 and divide it by how many seconds it took you. If it took you 10 seconds, you're at 1.0. Simple. But if you're up at 12 or 13 seconds, that's when you want to start paying closer attention. That puts you in the yellow flag zone, and it's worth bringing up with your doctor. Do this every 3 months and write it down. The number itself matters, but the trend matters even more. A consistent slowdown, even a small one, is worth paying attention to. And walking speed is just one piece of the picture. Research shows that combining it with 2 other simple measures, grip strength and how quickly you can rise from a chair, gives an even more complete picture of your functional health. This combination, known as the short physical performance battery, is one of the most validated tools in geriatric medicine for predicting hospitalization, disability, and long-term outcomes. If you want a thorough baseline, ask your doctor about a full SPPB assessment. Here's the bigger picture. We've spent decades focusing on the usual suspects for healthy aging: cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar. Those things matter. But walking speed may be telling you something those numbers miss: a real-time assessment of how well your entire system is functioning together. The good news is that unlike your genetics or your family history, your walking speed is something you can influence. The research is clear. Targeted exercise can improve it at any age, even in people already showing decline. So next time you're walking somewhere, to your car, to the mailbox, through the grocery store, pay attention. Not to be anxious, but to be informed. Because the pace you're moving at today may be the clearest window you have into how your body is aging, and one of the most actionable pieces of information you have for doing something about it. Talk to your doctor if you've noticed changes in your walking speed, balance, or endurance. Ask about a formal gait speed assessment at your next visit. And if you're ready to start a power training program, ask for a referral to a physical therapist who can design one safely for your current level. You have more control over this than most people realize. The transition from a slow gait to a normal or fast gait isn't merely a matter of moving more quickly. It's a manifestation of increased physiological reserve, a sign that your body has more in the tank. The research shows that walking speed can be improved. That shifts the story of aging from one of inevitable decline to one of modifiable health. By paying attention to this one simple measure and acting on it, you become a participant in your own aging process, not just a passenger. The movement of the body remains the most authentic measure of the life within it. Stay informed, stay independent, stay sharp.